Doug, thank you so much for being with us this morning. You just heard Ilan's report. I mean, this is a big week. Let's take us through what the ramifications are, given the idea that there are funding issues still up for debate right now. Can we count on that bipartisanship to keep everything going from the day-to-day governance perspective of America?
Well, I think she laid out the timeline pretty clearly, and it begins today with a vote in the House on these two spending bills. I spent yesterday waiting for it to fall apart, quite frankly. We've seen this movie many, many times where they say, oh, we've got a deal, but you don't really have a deal until you've got a bill to vote on. They did that late last night. It has all sorts of things in it, Tom. I mean, you've got the spending, yes, but you also have 7 years of authorization for the Ex-Im Bank, terrorism risk insurance, repeal of every tax in the ACA, health insurance tax, Cadillac tax, medical device tax. The list goes on. And so I think the good news scenario is they take care of business, they fund the government, it gets voted on in the House today, gets to the Senate, gets done on Thursday probably, and we don't see a shutdown. We don't see any of the sort of tremors that go through the market that come from things going on in Washington. The bad news scenario is people finally get a chance to read it. Something's in there that they don't like, and you start to see the kind of pushback against voting on the bill. And we've seen both of these scenarios before, so I'm still watching this pretty carefully.
All right, so let's talk about the trade agreement. Let's talk about USMCA first, because that's
Sure.
kind of, we have details around it. We're pretty much we're in the red zone, so to speak, for this particular move here. Is this going to be something that all of the members of this free trade agreement pact, Canada, the U.S., Mexico, can all get behind? We've heard reports that Mexico may not like the language. Will this be a boom for the economy if we can get NAFTA 2.0 passed?
I think this looks a lot like the Phase 1 trade deal with China, which is addition by subtraction. You take off the table the potential that somehow the important North American market gets divided. That would be incredibly unhelpful for all the economies. You get USMCA in place. It has some sectors where there's going to be clear benefits. I think digital trade, things like that in this agreement are quite strong. There are other places where I think people are less happy, but that's the nature of big deals. Not everyone's going to be happy. The issue with Mexico is on, the inspection of labor conditions. That's something that'll have to be worked out. Whether it's done by altering the USMCA or by a side agreement, Mexico passing legislation, I don't know. But I think that's something that's manageable. The vote should go forward on Thursday and pass, and then it's over to the Senate in early January.
So one of the other things I want to bring up here, and it's maybe not as much to do with trade specifically, but you've been following the developments with Boeing and the 737 MAX jet.
Yeah.
We're now hearing some estimates out there that are floating around the street that the suspension of production of the 737 MAX jet will actually have a market effect on U.S. economic growth. GDP could take a hit. Take us through what exactly that means and how exactly that bears out for the fiscal situation in this country.
Well, certainly it's already had an impact on GDP growth. I mean, this is an important sector of the economy. If you're looking for evidence of, sort of business investment, building planes is a big part of that. So we've already seen some couple of tenths of percentage point cut in growth. Now with a stop completely, you're going to see that in the first quarter data. There's no question about it. It feeds back into the pace of income growth and the household sector, which has been the strength of the U.S. economy. So that's worth watching closely to see that feedback. And certainly everybody needs to understand this impact and understand that it comes from a relatively anomalous source. It's not evidence that the economy is downshifting. It's a very unique event. Has a lot more to do with making international regulators simultaneously happy about the changes to the MAX than anything else. And that's proving to be a big problem for the company.
All right. Before we let you go, given everything that you've talked about right now, can you just give us in a few moments the grade that you would give the U.S. fiscal situation right now, given everything that we know about Boeing, about the economy, about markets, and about trade?
I think if you want to grade the economy, it gets a good solid B, maybe a B plus. It's really hung in there remarkably well. If you want to grade the budget outlook and the fiscal situation, you get a gentleman's D at best. I mean, we have big problems that are not being dealt with. They're getting past the short-term issues, keeping the government open. They're not dealing with the long-term issue of ever-rising debt.
All right. Will you please come back and talk about that some more the next time you're out here?
Happy to do it.